I'd like to call the Board of Public Works meeting of February 25th, 2014. First is just ask if anybody is recording this other than LCAT. Seeing, hearing none.
I am attempting to for the purpose of minutes, but
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Are we on?
Yes, sir.
First thing is to review and approve the minutes of the February 11th meeting. Why was not at, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 11th meeting.
I second the motion.
Okay, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain because I was not there. Next on the agenda is Superintendent, Operations Manager, Building Facilities Manager, all the reports.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try to keep my talk fairly short tonight, partly because I'm starting to lose my voice and partly to give the other gentleman a chance to speak tonight. Other than snow, ice, and potholes, which has really been what's been keeping us busy for the past couple of weeks, there's not a lot new to report on this month. We are tracking similarly from a budget standpoint as we have in the past couple of years in the snow and ice budget. As I mentioned, I believe at the last board meeting, we have exceeded our annual budget again, as we have for the last 15 years. And the outcome will really depend on what's ahead of us. If the rest of the season gets better than the first part of the season, we'll finish probably fairly close to where we were last year. If it continues to be a pretty heavy year, then we're likely going to be heavier than we were last year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Last meeting, we talked a little bit about the Prospect tank improvements that Connecticut Water Company may get involved in. There's really no change in that. I spoke to them today. They're still in the process of putting together the design of a water main to serve their customers at Crystal Lake. They're going to bid it out, and they're going to see how that cost compares to the cost of making upgrades to our tank. So that basically still on hold. And I did reach out to them and indicate that before they made any final decisions, we should discuss whether or not there's a way for us to get involved in any sort of cost sharing that would make it beneficial to both Connecticut Water and to the town. Let's see, I was going to mention that we are meeting with the Appropriations Committee next Thursday at 7 p.m. We have been working on trying to learn a little bit more about what enterprise funds are about, and I've been collecting information from other communities to learn how they have done it, getting copies of their formulas and their systems that they've put in place to again, really understand what they're about and how we might decide to do it if we chose to do it. And I think that's it for my update, so I really want to turn it over to, I guess, John first, if that's okay.
Well, I'd like to thank the board, first and foremost, probably for the lift, for the installation of the lift. It's complete. I know you've had an opportunity to take a look at it, and what a great benefit it is for the department in repairing the vehicles, and not too late for this year. The vehicles have had an incredible wear and tear over the course of the winter through the snow plowing and the salting and sanding, and it's just a great benefit. It was nice that it was done so quickly and the different departments worked together to get that in and installed. From there, I guess there's not much to say about the snow and ice or the potholes, I don't think, except that it's been excessive and we've been out continuously. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of break in the weather moving forward. The potholes, we've had 4 crews out trying to cover the town all at the same time, all the mains at the same time, as soon as we come in the morning, so that any of the potholes that pop out, the coal patch that blows out over the course of the evening, those potholes are filled as soon as possible to eliminate those real bad, nasty potholes that cause front end damage and flat tires and so on and so forth. And I think that we've been pretty lucky as far as that goes. There has not been a great number of accident reports that have come into the town hall. And I know it's been a mess out there in all the communities. We did have a new employee start on Monday, Chad Ruel. He's an East Long Meadow guy. He seems to be a good fit. And again, he started Monday morning. And I think that's probably about all for me.
Okay. Last but not least, Mr. Finney.
A Pine Knoll update. The contractor did start yesterday with the demolition phase
of the, actually, the kiddie pool is probably about 80% demolished, and they're continuing on with the sidewalks and everything up there. So if you guys have a chance or driving by, feel free to go up and take a look. Also, the tennis court project, we delayed our Tuesday meeting, well, today's meeting, because of the existing conditions out there, the snowpack. We were supposed to go out with the engineer and identify all the utilities and underground things that are near the court. So I'm actually scheduled to go out there on Friday, and then our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, the 4th of next week, to continue those design discussions.
Yeah, we've got enough snow on the ground, it's gonna be spring before they're gonna.
Yeah, and like I said, the Pine Knoll site, they went up there Monday because it thawed out pretty nicely and moved some snow around, and I was telling Mr. Mayberry, I went up there today, and it's extremely icy now, and I fell a few times, so. So anyway.
What else to add? I didn't know that I put in the packet to the board members that there was a complimentary letter that came in from Ms. Tara Reynolds. The Ed that's referred to this letter is Ed Hellier, she was extremely appreciative of the efforts during the last snowstorm, so I just wanted to make certain that the board was aware. We don't get a lot of positive press, and aware of the positive.
No, it sounds like a very positive letter.
Yes.
Excellent.
Very good. Any other business? Anything you'd like to talk about? I see a representative from the Appropriations Committee is here.
Well, I didn't know if you were
Roger?
intending to discuss among yourselves as a follow-up kind of discussion to the February 11th. Any
I was out of my office today, but at sometime today, Russ sent to a bunch of us, but not you guys, so, sorry guys. I just opened it, but Eric got it, Rocco got it, you got one, Jim Walsh, Don, Sam, Jim Shields, and Tom Caliento, and me.
I thought I saw Tom Wilson's on it. Oh,
Okay.
I did. Okay.
No, so I will forward this to the two of you and Bob, and you guys can take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I went on that website and started reading, like, definition of an enterprise fund. I mean, in theory, it all seems fine. Well, we just gotta sit down and punch something out, and I think Bob's willing to get on that, and Bob's talked to a few different communities that have them. Well, I think he said Ware had introduced one in the past 3 years.
They're one of the newer ones, so
Yeah.
it's all fresh for them, which is good.
So generally, I'm in favor of it now after hearing more,
Yeah.
but the agreement that's a part of it has to be hammered out, so.
Right, I think that's
I
what it all
guess-
boils down to. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, in the past, we've never bought any vehicles from water and sewer, now all of a sudden, we're being asked to purchase all our vehicles through water and sewer, which is going to, of course, raise the rates to pay for that. And now, you know, I think our big concern was basically just the flat $100,000 that appropriations is asking us just to give, with really no justification of what it's for. I mean, it was just a nice round number.
Well,
And we didn't get, we didn't get any documentation, which we were told that we would get some documentation of where that number came from, and I never saw it, so.
Well, we did have a spreadsheet. I shared it with Bob,
Okay.
so I assumed he would communicate it to you. It was just what we based it on was looking at the town services and some of the direct expenses. And to be quite honest, the 100,000 is basically all, you could look at 100 of the 217,000 that Tom identified as potential allocations of expenses that are borne in the general fund. 100,000 of that is health insurance that the town pays for water and sewer employees. So that was it wasn't the full 217, which included all the other kinds of allocations. It was half of that, and it was really directly attributable to health insurance. So that,
It's 100,000 for, what do we have, 10 employees?
In the water and sewer divisions,
Yeah.
probably.
Not even.
10 or 11. I think there's 6 and 5 right now.
So that's where the 100,000 came from, and feel free to take a look at that, because that is regardless of the enterprise fund. Unfortunately, you know, the budgets so far that have been proposed for state aid, you know, have not provided any kind of bump. I think our state aid went up like 67,000 from what we projected in our original 1% guideline. But approximately, we got about $50,000 in additional offsets to that, so we're really almost like 15 or 16,000 to the good, which on our $50 million budget is negligible. So right now, we're still hoping to persuade, have you agree to an allocation of that amount, because we've got it in our calculation so that we can meet the 1%, the 1% budget, which again is independent of the enterprise fund or not. And as you mentioned, the issue of does a truck come out of the water sewer fund or does it come out of general fund? That discussion is being had now without an enterprise fund. So
Right,
those are
right.
discussions.
No, but just things that have changed recently over the last, well, all the years I've been on. This is the first time we purchased a vehicle, or last year, we were asked if we wanted them, they had to come out of our water and sewer fund, and where they always came out of the general fund. And then this is something new that we're just being hit with, and, you know, is it a one-time deal, or is it gonna be there forever? I mean, once we accept it,
Yeah, and it's hard to say, but I think
and down
the
the road,
trend would
and down
be
the road, are other
towards
things
that.
gonna be, you know, dumped on us and dumped on us and dumped on us, and
I can't answer that,
Right,
Dan.
right.
It's just something we'll
Yeah.
have to hammer out. I think right now, the biggest possible amount that we can think of is 200,000. But again, that's part of what, you know, discussions are all about, et cetera. And I think, again, it's enterprise fund or not enterprise fund. You still decide how much of that may or may not come from the general fund to subsidize, you know, the revenue in the enterprise fund, as I understand it. But that's one thing, is the 100,000, we're still hoping to have you be willing to entertain that for the purposes of balancing our budget. And then the second part is moving and your position on the enterprise fund themselves.
I could probably read this a page in 3 sentences if you want me to read it real quick, and then there's one sentence in there that talks about an agreement needing to be in place, so let me just read it. To the Board of Selectmen, Board of Public Works and Appropriation Committee, it was a pleasure meeting with you to discuss adopting water and sewer enterprise funds. As you know, our firm's management letter has recommended the town adopt water and sewer enterprise funds. I understand that there are differing viewpoints and understandings in your community concerning enterprise funds. There are 3 main reasons why a community should adopt an enterprise fund. Identifies total service cost, it provides useful management information, and it enables to retain its surplus and investment income. I have summarized some of the benefits as we discussed during our meeting below. The town currently accounts and operates the water and sewer activities as special revenue funds. Thus, the water and sewer are reserving and retaining its surplus. Although this is a financially prudent and sound practice without the adoption of the enterprise funds or special legislation, the practice of water and sewer retaining its surplus is not permissible. If the town adopted enterprise funds for its water and sewer activities, it would legitimize its current practice. 2, the enterprise fund would allow the water and sewer funds to earn and retain its own investment income. 3, direct and indirect costs can be allocated to the water and sewer enterprise fund. It is up to the management of the town and enterprise funds to come to an agreement if indirect costs will be charged to the enterprise funds. If indirect costs are to be charged, a written policy should be established between the local financial officials of the town and agreed to on what indirect costs are appropriate. The policy should be reasonable and calculated in a fair and consistent basis. 4, it improves controls for the tax rate setting process. Currently, as mentioned above, The town utilizes special revenue funds to account for its water and sewer activities, and this would classify them as a local receipt for the budget setting process. When funds are accounted for outside of the general fund and utilized as local receipt for the budget setting process, the risk of error in the tax rate increases. By adopting enterprise funds, the water and sewer would not be treated as a local receipt on the tax recapitulation sheet, and thus reduce the risk and error that could occur on the tax rate. If you have any further questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me for continued discussion or clarification. Tom Scanlon, CPA Scanlon and Associates. So it all sounds reasonable. It's recapped. Number 3 is the one that's, we have to
So,
have some kind of written something between the accountant, the selectmen, the Board of Public Works, and I don't know, who's the treasurer is Tom, right? I don't know if the clerk has to be involved or anybody else, but. So if we can look at wares and we can talk to Wilbraham and we can communicate with other communities, maybe we can get the best of the best for East Suffolk. I'll forward this to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Sounds good. So,
we're on it. And we're not meeting till when? It's like the 26th or something, or no?
Who's the board?
With the appropriations?
Oh,
Push
the
pretty-
6th.
Oh, the
Next
6th, that's
Thursday.
right, that's right.
Next Thursday at 7 PM.
And there's just one other, if I may, the timing for a warrant article. Warrant articles that are petitioned, the deadline is March 3rd. Warrant articles that are from internal departments and boards, they're projecting that that would be March 14th. So,
We'll meet before.
yeah, we'll probably 11th, is that 11th good for everybody?
March 11th.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have any sense if somebody was to put forth this article, who would put it forth?
Same time, same place.
I think it would probably make sense that it would be the Board of Public Works
Okay.
to sponsor it. I suppose the selectmen potentially could, but it would be more appropriate for, I think,
For us to do it?
Yeah.
right, for you to, vote that
Sure.
you want to do it and then say
And
that.
I think we should have Scanlon there too, as being the one who's really pushing this as far
There
as
at.
at the town meeting.
Oh, okay, sure.
Right. I think we should have him present, just so if people have questions, he's,
Yeah, we're only going to go so far.
right, yeah. It makes sense to have him there to reply to some of the questions if they had, people had it. There's nothing that worked. That's pretty cool, so. All right, so you want to meet on the 11th? Is that good for?
Yeah, works for me.
Perfect.
Okay, so the next meeting will be March 11th, 5 o'clock, Service Building. And
What was next Thursday?
next Thursday appropriations. It's,
We've generally
At
been
CO
meeting in the.
COA community.
COA.
Yeah, the media room.
So, 6 is, it's the 6th, yep. Council on Aging, 7 o'clock. You okay with that, Joe? Timing and everything, and we'll be meeting with you on the 6th, so we'll have more input, we'll probably take a vote.
Maybe we can actually get something circulating in email.
Sure.
Bob, you can check in with Tom Caliento and the Board of Selectmen and see if you can get something, or probably Nick, see if we can get something circulating that.
Sure. For the 6th or in advance of the 6th?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if it's, should we could actually post the 6th. That will all be at, will you be there?
Yeah.
We could actually post that meeting, and then if we were able to, between now and then, get everything hammered out, we could maybe take a vote. We could open a meeting, take a vote, and then they would know, and we're not waiting right up till the 14th, what are we doing?
And we'll have the 11th.
And if we can't, we'll have to fall back for the 11th, and we'll make the vote then, and
Yeah.
Because I truly would like to have it one way or the other, so that we're not at the town meeting, not enough information, I can't stand those.
There's probably ultimately two documents that come out of it, the town meeting article, which is probably fairly simple with, you know,
Yeah, there's
may-
like a sample in one of these circulars.
we may choose to add a few words to that to really memorialize the fact that this is an agreement between which parties, and then there's the actual sort of agreement itself that'll have more details and specificity to it.
Perfect. All right?
Okay.
Anything else under other business?
The only thing that I was mentioned about, if we're gonna go to an enterprise fund for the sewer and the water, do we do one for the transfer station at the same time?
We talked about that at
We
one
had,
point.
in the past years, we had talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna dive into it, why don't we get them all straightened out at the same time?
Good.
Yeah, the, you know, transfer station budget is really
Teeny.
two pieces to it. It's two staff people that work 8 hours a week typically.
Right.
And then there's the outside hauling disposal costs, so it's really, and the labor piece is maybe 25% of the budget, and the hauling and disposals.
Yeah, it's a $50,000 or $60,000
Yeah.
budget type item.
Right. So there aren't a lot of indirect costs, you know, from an accounting standpoint. There's probably not a lot to be gained by the town by trying to come up with a truer accounting of that, because they're accounting for fairly small dollars. But, you know, if we did want to make it into a standalone, self-supporting entity by which we could make certain that fees pay the cost of the service and things like that, an enterprise fund would be the way to do it.
I think the reasons we were talking about it, Sean, you might remember, and that is, we were talking about composting and mulching and possibly having actually the ability to sell some of the material when we clean and take down and leaves and brush and trees and Heritage Park stuff and whatever. There was a thought process that we could actually do some composting and then potentially sell it. But all that energy and effort is kind of like cost our department, but then goes to the general fund, and it was hard to justify that. That would make any sense at all, because we'd be taking away our crews that would potentially be working on streets and sidewalks and mowing the schools, doing a bunch of composting, only to have it fall in the general fund, so it didn't seem, and at the time, it was Sandy
Okay.
Chiquette, is that how you said her name? So,
I can't remember.
Sandy Chiquette or something like
Yeah.
that. So, and she was kind of putting it together, and then she wasn't here anymore, and I think it pretty much at that point just stopped. So it might be worth at least touching base when I send that letter to the auditor and say, hey, while we're doing these 2 water and sewer ones, there was a thought of composting and other things, but then we decided we're gonna spend all this money out of our budget that we don't have to compost, and then it goes into general fund, which defeats our ability or purpose to exist for schools and sidewalks and.
I thought some of the discussions we had at that time was not just the composting, but if there were excess funds, then we could more easily put them back into the transfer
Right.
station, whether it was new paving of the roadway,
Right.
whether it was upgraded equipment we might need there, specialty equipment or anything like that, and to really progress with it.
Right, which is, that was kind of the conversation about water and sewer. I mean, water and sewer, we have other things we have to buy to ream and jet and do,
Yeah, and
whatever.
if that was its own entity and it was deriving an income, you could pay the person's salary to be there full-time, whether he was composting or,
Right.
so, I mean, right now it's only $50,000-$60,000, but
It could be
It could-
100 or
it could-
300. We
it
were
could
talking big
potentially-
numbers at one point, but,
it could potentially grow to be that.
so, it'd be worth asking. Sure. Because maybe it is just another line on the budget sheet and away we go.
Is that considered a revolving fund?
Well, there's different definitions of
Well,
something.
in
Because
my
that would
head,
make the most sense.
that's a possibility too, but I mean, it's worth, we should bring it up when you can ask and we can talk about it at our appropriation, our joint meeting too.
There was some difference between a
makes it-
revolving
yeah.
fund and an enterprise
This-
fund.
I mean, a revolving fund has the ability to segregate those revenues to be used.
What's
for-
water and sewer right now? What's that called if it's not enterprise? Is that a revolving fund?
Special revenue in it.
Special revenue fund,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the money doesn't carry over year after year. Oh, yes, it does.
It has,
Yes, it
although
does.
It's worth exploring.
Yeah, let's check it out. I don't have any official letters, but I have heard several compliments on how good East Long Meadow is, again, compared to driving to Summers or driving to Long Meadow or driving to Springfield. Although I've heard some reports Springfield got their act together a little bit based on people, but I don't know.
I think certain sections, because I
That what it
came
is?
through, a terrible section today.
Did you?
Now, maybe like John says, they pop up overnight, you never know. But it was really, really
The
bad.
one thing I did want to bring up is, remember UMass came and said they put cameras in? I understand that Springfield DPW has about 50 or more cameras that they can actually access for seeing how well the streets are plowed. And so that never came up. When we were talking about the cameras with UMass, they were gonna put a couple in the center and a couple on Maple Street and a couple here or there. But I never heard it come up used for snow. That storm the other morning that came on at about 7 a.m. was unbelievable, how there was no snow, then there was snow everywhere. Springfield's got a benefit by looking at those cameras to go, whoa, look how fast that's piling up, or look how slippery that hill is, or whatever. So if cameras ever come up again, I just wanted to kind of mention that. If we're talking about it in the summer, we're gonna forget about cameras for snow, but it sounded like a pretty cool idea to be able to look at like Chestnut Street Hill and some of our, our Pease Road hills and some of the hills. Do we need to get out there and get some salt on it rather than drive all the way out there or wait for police to tell us?
Springfield has been much more aggressive, as is Long Meadow, as far as
Sounds like
getting
it.
out early, and I believe spending more money on material and getting their vehicles out at the start of the storm.
That's good, and you've been helping them a little too, right?
Well, I've been in communications with Long Meadow.
Yeah.
Springfield are on their own. But, no, I think all the surrounding communities have got to a place where maybe negative feedback from residents, those types of things have pushed them a little bit.
Good. But anyways, lots of compliments about East Long Meadow, so good. All good.
All right, anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
To adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.